40 days. 40. 40 days. Moses spent 40 days and 40 nights doing his thing. Jesus spent 40 days and 40 nights out in the desert planning his attack when it came to the, Catholicism and stuff like that. And folks, we have 40 days until the NFL season starts. Buckle up! It's coming. You guys have been loyal, patient, and unbelievable in this epic journey that John and I have given you when it comes to the Legend Series. And we are proud to cross the finish line today with offensive linemen and safeties. And then we will blow open the doors of fantasy football. And we have a tease for you today of what that might taste like. And we have some actual NFL news. Every team is in training camp. Oh my God, every team is in training camp. It's happening. Aaron Rodgers is in a Green Bay Packer uniform. And breaking news, Carson Wentz is hurt again. Raise your hand if you're not shocked about that. Yep, my hand was raised because I'm not shocked. And the Colts shouldn't be shocked either. But, when you have a piss-poor organization, that's kind of what happens. Folks, I hope you're really enjoying this Saturday morning. I hope for all the men listening, you have a nice fat cigar in your mouth, drinking a nice coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And the women, I hope you got the cucumbers over your eyes and you have, the lotion on your face. I want that for you. I want that for you. But what I want you to want from us is the best analysis we could give you. And God damn it, we're going to do that today. PSP, episode 23, coming right up. Folks, just want to let you know, by about halfway through that intro, John had his hand over his head, and it was just down on the table.
Because you went full like any given Sunday, like at the end there.
Yo, I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling it.
The cucumbers on the eyes thing was a bridge too far. I don't. When was the last time people actually did that?
Hey, listen, you never know. You never know.
It's like I Love Lucy, sort of like.
Right, but people love I Love Lucy.
It's true.
It's a great show.
I've only watched like maybe 3
Ricky
episodes.
Ricardo.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to Perfect Spiral Podcast from my co-host, John McCarthy. My name's Joe Miglio, and we are here in the dead heat of summer.
It's not that hot out.
It is July 31st. We are recording episode 23 at 9:42 in the morning, and today marks the end of an era. The Legend Series is over.
It's the end.
Today is the last episode of the Legend Series. And John, let me be the first one to say, I did not think I would enjoy this as much as I did.
Really?
But I did. I really enjoyed this. I really liked how we, this is almost educational for me a little bit.
Me too.
Because I shouldn't say I didn't think. It's not the right word. I didn't understand how great some of these real older players were. As a modern football fan, and when I say modern, I mean like kind of like 80s and up,
Yeah.
As a modern football fan, you never hear of the older guys. And
Not
you
at
never
all.
hear of like guys who played in the 40s and 50s. But
You hear more about the teams.
yeah, but they're so important to what the game is like today. And I'm just really grateful that we were able to not only start it, but, have a quality, vast amount of listeners that we were able to complete it. And, we got through this, I'm going to call it a tough stretch because it's the dead of summer. Football is at its lowest point, but we are back. Football is officially back.
Yeah.
And we are going to really kick it into high gear from this point on.
We're going to be a totally different show after this too. We have so many plans for the season.
Oh my God. But I am really excited. I am really excited. I already bought my first tickets to my first game.
I know you texted me and I forgot what I sent you before that. I feel like it was something totally unrelated to football. And all you said to me was you bought your tickets to Jets, Jags, let's go.
Yeah, baby. December 26th in the dead of winter.
Did you get good seats?
Section 130, right on the 15-yard line.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Row 5.
Not bad.
So we're going to be sitting very close to the action. And I am going to blow Trevor Lawrence a kiss when he throws his 5th touchdown of the afternoon against the porous Jets secondary in that game.
Joe's getting way ahead of himself.
It's going to be amazing.
If you checked our Twitter, there was a lot of gushing over Trevor Lawrence this week.
How could you not, bro? He's throwing touchdowns to Tim Tebow now. He's like, Marvin Jones, check. Fisker Chenault, check.
I heard Tim Tebow was yoked.
Tim Tebow is literally ripped to shreds.
How?
He's Tim Tebow. It's what he does.
It's because he's God, actually.
He goes balls to the wall in anything that he does. So it's like, all right, whatever.
The fact that he's actually still on the team, Joe, is hilarious.
John, I'm going to tell you right now. If you were to ask me, gun to my head, if he's going to make the team, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, because he's going to, even so, he's Urban's guy.
It's not
Urban's
even that.
son.
It's like, he might be, I don't think, he's not the most talented tight end on the roster, at all. But he's probably the third most talented athlete in that room right now. After Manhurts and O'Shaughnessy, and they drafted the kid Luke Farrell. I don't know. They're not going to carry 4 tight ends. It's not going to happen.
No.
So, and they're not going to cut the Luke Farrell kid. They drafted him. And O'Shea, they're not going to cut O'Shea because he's O'Shea. And I don't know. Manhurts, they signed for agent. It's going to be, he's on the outside looking in, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be tough. But anyway, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Before we get into the offensive lineman and the safeties, I just want to remind everybody, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Deezer, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on Twitter, which is probably our biggest platform. We also have TikTok. We also have Instagram. We also have Facebook. We also have YouTube. So make sure you hit us up on all those platforms. John, what we foresaw came true.
With what?
We said weeks ago, and I listened to check, we said that we both thought before the season was going to commence that Aaron Rodgers would be back in a Green Bay Packer uniform.
Yeah, you did say that.
And he is. Why do you think that is?
A couple of things. One, I'm just going to stick to my assessment of that. I think the market shrunk for him. I think.
How is that possible, though? It's Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
I still don't understand. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't understand how that could be a thing.
Because I feel like the Packers, they lost a lot of leverage when he turned around and just said he wasn't going to play. And then when he turned around and said that he was threatening retirement. So when you're the Packers and you're not getting back the return that you want on him, everything going out in the open, it fucked them. It fucked the Packers, if we're being honest. And then the fact that he turned around and he played coy about it for so long, and then he had all these. Now they have these concessions, right? The whole thing. Joe, I got Joe this strawberry drink, and he just
strawberry acai refresher. Good God!
It's really I didn't think you were gonna like it.
Oh my God! It's like somebody's been stroking me for a half hour. The way
I should have gotten you a bigger one.
Wow! No, I wanted a small. It's perfect.
Was it sweet?
It was. Everything that I wanted when I called you this morning, I got in this glorious cup of whatever this is.
Oh, now Joe's gonna go get another one.
I might. Whenever time Hannah goes to Starbucks.
Now you know.
That's where it's at. Continue.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers likes strawberry acai?
You see the way he grew out his hair. Of course he does.
100%. And then no sunglasses.
And he's a big Scotch whiskey guy. You could just tell.
Oh yeah.
He's a huge Scotch whiskey. He's a cigar and Scotch whiskey type
sitting by the
fella.
fire kind of guy.
Yeah.
100%.
Telling stories
With Shailene Woodley.
Yes. And Miles Teller.
Why?
I think him and Shailene Woodley are friends. They were on that.
They're together. They're engaged.
No. Aaron Rodgers is engaged to Shailene.
Aaron Rodgers is engaged
right,
to Shailene.
Yeah, but
what does Miles Teller have to do with it?
I think Miles Teller
Oh, boy.
was on, I think, he did the movies with her. Remember that Divergent series?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Where they had like those 3 or 4 movies, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to check that right now, but I'm pretty sure they were in the movies together.
Miles Teller is also a very bad Mr. Fantastic.
I did not see that movie. I refused. I heard it was horrifying.
Horrifying. That's not even the word. It's terrible.
Miles Teller was in the Divergent series. So
why were you watching Divergent?
I was not. I'm just again. So useless information. But I'm very adept with actors and actresses in movies. Don't know why. Continue your I want to hear about I want to hear anything about Aaron Rodgers.
All right, we weren't perfect.
It's okay.
Spot. We were perfect movie reel for a second.
It's all right. It's fine. No big deal.
No, so the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers, the fact that his market was so small because everything went so public, and then not to mention they offer him that crazy extension, right? That came out this week,
right?
He said no. They would have made him the highest paid player in NFL history. They would have tied him to Green Bay for the next 5 years.
That's ridiculous.
Until he was like 42, and then now he says no. You know what? I'll come back, but I want you to void the 2023 part of my contract. And at the end of the season, we are going to revisit and see if I want to leave, which from his presser, which was incredible.
That was really an amazing presser.
He dogged them.
Oh, he hates Brian Gutekunst. He's not holding any punches.
No, he did not hold any punches. And he basically.
And honestly, like if you hold everything, if you hold all the cards, what do you have to lose? He knows they're not going to cut him.
No.
He knows they're not going to trade him. And he now is not tied to them through the end of this year. If he wants to leave, he could leave.
Yeah.
They voided the 2023 year. So, like, and I mean, when he said, this is the line that got me in the presser. I was like, shit. He said, nobody comes to Green Bay to go on vacation. They come here to play with me. And it's like...
That's badass.
I'm like, you ain't wrong, fella.
No.
But, and here's my issue with all of this, right? I'm typically not a guy who... I don't like how the NBA mentality is creeping into the NFL.
Yeah, we spoke about this.
We spoke about this a while ago, and I don't want to go over it again, but I'm not crazy about it. I'm really not.
Ooh, shit.
But... why is Aaron Rodgers acting like he's won 7 Super Bowl titles and been to 10 Super Bowls? Why? Why does he want Tom Brady treatment? He's not Tom Brady.
That's so funny you say that because it's so true. He really does.
He wants Tom Brady treatment, and he's nothing. Listen, when it comes to like
1-4 in NFC Championship.
When it comes to like, legendary status and surefire Hall of Famer and greatness, Brady's 1, he's 2, right? Breeze was 2 before Rodgers, but Breeze is now retired, so Aaron Rodgers has now taken that mantle as number 2. But you're not even like, there's such a gap between Brady and Rodgers in terms of like what they're owed or how they should be treated or whatever. Tom Brady, we went over this a couple weeks ago. Tom Brady may be the greatest athlete in major sports history. And as you just noted, Aaron Rodgers is 1-4 in NFC championships. So I don't want to hear from him how he deserves all this stuff when he hasn't been to a Super Bowl since 2011.
Yeah. And then can we talk about the funniest part of the whole thing where right after that presser and everything and all the concessions came out, they went and they traded for Randall Cobb. And then Adam Schefter put out a tweet saying, this one's for Aaron. Randall Cobb fucking sucks. Why was that like the major sticking point to trade for Randall Cobb?
That's what he's washed up, but I mean...
And then Devontae Adams, not to mention the whole Last Dance thing that they did on Instagram. And then what they're doing to him is ridiculous. They're not making him the highest paid receiver in football. I don't think he's the best receiver in football, but I do think he deserves the money.
I disagree. I think he is the best receiver in football. I think pound for pound right now, I I think he's the best receiver in football. I think you're going to start to see Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins start their very, very large decline from the wide receiver mountaintop.
Whoa.
I do. I think, well, and we're going to get into this when we do FFA. I think it'll kind of coincide with this, but I think...
Well, Hopkins might not play this year because,
he's going to play. I think that, guys like Davante Adams and, little sneak peek into fantasy football, I think Calvin Ridley is going to emerge as a top 3 wide receiver this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I really, really think so. So, but the reality is he's back with the pack, and they have as good a chance as any to go back to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, push comes to shove, if Rodgers is going to have you can't expect him to do what he did last year. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, if he does, then God bless. But you can't expect him to throw 48 touchdowns and 5 picks. That's irrational. Davante Adams had a 34% target share last year and a ridiculous 18% touchdown rate. That was just insanity. I don't think that's going to happen again this year. But you look at the NFC. So there's Tampa, obviously, because they went
far and away the
last
favorite,
year.
yeah.
And then I think after that, it's
wide open.
I think the Rams and the Packers are neck and neck as that number 2 team.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Rams, I feel like, lost a little bit because the loss of Cam Akers was huge.
Loss of Cam Akers was big, but they now have probably the most competent quarterback. Not probably. They had the most competent quarterback play since Sean McVay took over in LA. And from multiple reports and multiple stories and multiple analysts, McVay, for the first time in his Rams tenure, is able to open up his whole playbook because of the limitations that Jared Goff have. So you may see a more downfield threat approach to that Rams offense this year, which we haven't seen really. Because if you watch the Rams, you knew that they were slant city, over the middle city.
Oh yeah, and they were
with their quarterback play and Woods and Kupp and Josh Reynolds, and now being replaced by Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell and Deshaun Jackson. But I think that they're going to be different. But I mean, you largely have the top 2 teams who played in the NFC title game last year coming back with. For the Bucs, it's almost 100% their roster from last year coming back. Mm-hmm. And then the Packers, it's what? They lost their biggest loss last year was Jamal Williams, I think.
Yeah, not even that big of a loss, really.
And they're replacing Williams with incumbent A.J. Dillon, who may arguably be better than Jamal Williams. So I think they have a good chance of any. And I think I would not be surprised if they during the season, if they add a position of need at the trade deadline to really threaten Tampa Bay.
Well, you know what's funny is I'll tell you this before we move on from Green Bay. There's two losers in this situation, I feel like. Jordan Love, major L for him. He looked terrible in camp.
You say that you're saying that, and I believe you, but this is the incompetency. That's the incompetency of the front office.
Yeah. That was in reality that now we can turn and we could look and say, at least in this moment, that was not a great pick.
I mean, listen, Rodgers sat for 3 years before he started. So Love will now be in year 3 before he potentially takes a snap in a real NFL game.
Or if Rodgers would have signed that extension, it would have been year 5, which he would have been past the rookie limit already, which doesn't make sense to me.
I'm curious about... finish your thought, because I'm going to move on to another team who I think may have an interesting take on what could happen. Well, just finish. All right, so I'll get to it.
So that's one loser, I feel like, in this situation. The other loser, I feel like, for now, pending any other move they make or try to make, is the Denver Broncos.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I feel like this was a major, major L for John Elway and that front office.
Well, they got one option left. And he resides in Houston, and he has no desire to play for the Texans.
Yeah.
He's currently lining up at safety in training camp practice. Literally.
Wow.
He has no desire to do friggin' anything in that organization.
He's just showing up so he doesn't get fined.
Literally Well, he needs to.
Yeah.
He's got legal fees out the ass probably he needs to pay. So, but speaking of Jordan Love, do you think that Chris Ballard is making a call to Brian Gutekunst right now and saying,
Oh, that's interesting.
hey, what's the availability of Jordan Love? Because all it took, folks, was 3 training camp practices for Carson Wentz to get hurt. 3. That's all it took. This notion that Carson Wentz was going to be healthy, the Eagles, for all the crap we've given the Eagles over the course of the past couple of months with the Nick Sirianni stuff and all this other stuff, I will say this. They gave up on Carson Wentz at the right time because they knew there's no way this guy's going to be healthy for another 17 games ever again, maybe in his life. And the Colts were like, what do you remember what the deal was? If he played 400 snaps?
It's 70 to 75% of the snaps.
They would get a first round pick.
They would get a first round pick. Yep.
Right? There's no way he's playing. There's no way he's playing 75% of the snaps. It started off as.
I'm just seeing this now.
Oh, really? And John's just seeing this right now. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz to see a foot specialist might need foot surgery. I mean, can we go talk about how this started really quick? It started as he left practice with a foot issue, right? And then it turned into, it actually might be something. He might be on the shelf for a couple of weeks. Then it was out indefinitely. And then yesterday it's, Wentz actually heard a pop in his foot.
Oh, my God.
So now it's not only the fact that he's probably going to have foot surgery, he's going to probably miss. Now, again, a foot is not an arm. A foot is not an elbow. A foot is not, whatever. It's a foot.
But you're a quarterback and you're planting on your feet.
And you're planting on your feet. And Wentz is a mobile guy who uses his legs to get out of pressure sometimes. If this is as serious as I think it is, and the Colts do a horrific job of hiding their injuries, the Twitter handle at My Sports Update was a phenomenal job yesterday at highlighting Denver's incompetency at hiding injuries.
You mean Indy?
Indy. Yeah. Well, yeah. He, noted how from 2017 on, not 2014 when Peyton had his neck injury. It was they downplayed it. He missed the season. Luck in 17 downplayed his injury, missed the season. Downplayed Luck's injury in 19. Then he retired, and now it's now it's Carson Wentz, and they're downplaying it again. And the reality is that he's probably going to miss half of the regular season games.
Well, there goes the first round pick for the Eagles then.
So, I mean, if you're the Colts, how are you not better prepared for this scenario? Your backup quarterback is Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason is not discrediting Jacob Eason whatsoever. But Jacob Eason was a third-round pick out of the University of Washington. He did not play a snap last year. And now he comes into his second year, and he's being thrusted right now into the QB1 role because Carson Wentz is hurt. When there was no indication or no inkling he was ever going to get snaps at QB1, right? This was Carson Wentz's team. So now, if you're the Colts, and now Wentz is locked up for 4 years? I know that's kind of crazy to think about, but wouldn't you want, he's got to be going through their head, what did we trade for? It has to be going through their head.
At least a little bit.
What
right?
did we trade for? Did we trade for a guy who's going to be prone to injury for the next 4 years? Because newsflash, Colts fans, and I'm not trying to be a homer here, but the Jaguars are can only go one way, and that's up. The Titans aren't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So, and the AFC is just getting better year by year. I mean, you look at the Dolphins, you look at the Bills. The Jets could only go up from here.
But here's the problem, Joe, with Indy and what they did here. I think what they did, and I think like I'm guilty of it too. I'm gonna admit I was wrong a little bit.
Oh.
I was guilty of this. I got lost in the idea of Frank Reich and Carson Wentz back.
Everyone
together.
did because like, oh my God.
Because I felt like Wentz from that year when they went to the Super Bowl, that year that he was in the MVP discussion,
and then he got hurt.
And then he got hurt. So I thought that magic could come back, but it's not like we have a small sample size.
He's a different quarterback now.
He's very. You know what I would compare it to, Joe? You know who I would compare him to? I would compare him to David Carr.
Oofa.
Remember when Carr had that crazy season when the Raiders finally made the playoffs and then he got hurt?
You mean Derek Carr?
Derek Carr. That's what I mean. Yeah. Derek Carr. I'm sorry. When they had that good, he had that amazing season, another MVP almost season,
right. Yeah,
and then he got hurt, and then he came back and he was like gun shy. And he
that was the Matt McGloin playoff game.
Yes, the Matt McGloin. That was a mess.
That was a mess.
I feel like when you take so many hits, you just get like kind of gun shy.
He last year statistically. And with all these like advanced statistics, which I'm not crazy about, I'm not really into that type of stuff, but all these advanced statistics, they all said the same thing. He was the worst quarterback in 2020 that played. He was the worst quarterback statistically in 2020. He threw for the most interceptions last year.
And some of them were so bad.
His completion percentage was way down. Now, granted, he didn't have a bunch of weapons in Philadelphia, but it's not like Indianapolis is screaming with talent. T.Y. Hilton is over the hill.
Over the hill.
Way over the hill. He's going to be 32 this year. He's not the number one receiver anymore.
No, he's not.
They do not have an amazing... I mean, their number one tight end is Mo Alley Cox, who is decent, but he's not like, he's not...
He's not a world beater.
No. And like, Michael Pittman had a nice season last year, but he's going into this year as their number one receiver.
Jonathan Taylor.
And he had 0 red zone targets last year. 0.
And he's a big guy.
Michael Pittman had 0 red zone targets last year. So you're counting on Carson Wentz to make Michael Pittman a threat. And I'm not saying Michael Pittman isn't good, because I do think Michael Pittman's good. But there's nothing that Carson Wentz has done in the last 3 seasons. Remember, like you said, Frank Reich and Carson Wentz was 4 seasons ago. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Like, we're not talking about a year removed. 4 years. Think about what happened 4 years. Like,
yeah.
It's just...
Philly
Kevin Durant was still playing for... This was that 2017 is pre-Kevin Durant ankle injury. That's how long ago that was.
Wow. You forget that Kevin Durant missed... We forget he missed almost 2 seasons when he ruptured his Achilles.
Right. Like, Klay Thompson was still healthy in 2017.
Didn't the Warriors win the championship in
Probably. But that's how long ago it was. And I just think, like... And you're right. And I think there was a certain amount of people that got lost in the fact... And maybe even Chris Ballard did too, and he made the trade in Jim Irsay.
But here's the... Wait. Time out. I want to say something about Chris Ballard.
Okay, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's done a really good job as their GM, for the most part.
I think he's done a good job, but I feel like he's definitely squandered a few opportunities. They've had so much money.
Well, yeah, they've had a lot of cap room the past couple of years, and they haven't, like... He's almost trying to, like... And I don't know if you'll get this reference, because I know you're not a huge baseball guy, but he's almost like trying to Tampa Bay Ray the NFL.
He's trying to stay within the organization. He's trying to, like, pay the guys that you drafted.
Yeah, he's
build
trying to,
from the draft.
He's trying to build from the draft, but he's almost trying to, like, find diamonds in the rough with all of these free agent signings. Like, he's almost... Talk about gun shy. He's almost like gun shy to make, like, a big splash in free agency.
They haven't made many trades.
I mean, the only notable trade they made was for DeForest Buckner when they traded with San Francisco.
And that was it.
Which was a great trade.
Fantastic trade.
But, I mean, like, you're right. They've been in the top 5 of cap space for what seems like the past 10 years, but, talking about the last 3 seasons. And they haven't really done anything. They haven't brought in, like, a number 1 receiver. They haven't brought in, like, a number 1 corner.
They've had a lot of picks, too.
Like, they've had a lot of picks. And honestly, like, Ballard's done a good job of them building from the draft. They drafted Darius Leonard. They drafted Quentin Nelson. They drafted Jonathan Taylor. They drafted all these guys. So they've drafted well. They drafted Michael Pittman. They've drafted well. But in the NFL, you only get 7 picks per year. And you typically only get, 1 first-round pick and 1 second-round pick. So when you draft people in rounds 5, 6, and 7, you're not anyone who tells you different is kidding themselves. You're not drafting those guys to be surefire starters.
Yeah, you're not drafting for need.
You're drafting guys as either projects or depth, and you think maybe if everything breaks right, this guy could be a starter. But you're not looking for those guys to be like, instantaneous, guys who provide for you. Mm-hmm. So, free agency is there for a reason. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won the Super Bowl because they won the Tom Brady free agent sweepstakes. Literally, that's the reason they won the Super Bowl. And they got Ndamukong Suh from free agency, and they got Leonard Fournette after he got cut, and they got
Antonio Brown,
and they got Rob Gronkowski to come out of retirement. So they got all of these things from the outside. They didn't draft any of those guys. They didn't do that.
That Tampa Bay Rays analogy is so good for the Colts. It really is.
I mean, it just seems so like...
And now you have a question mark at your biggest position on your roster.
Just like parallel. And I think, now going into the season where there was a lot of hope for them and a lot of hope that Wentz would return to his old form, now it's like, well, what is Carson Wentz going to be going forward? And what did we get in Carson Wentz? Because as I just mentioned, the Texans are in shambles, so they're not shouldn't be worried about that. But the Jaguars are only going to go somewhere up. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 overall pick, and they may not be a super threat this year, but you better bet your ass that going forward they're going to be a threat in that AFC South for long, long time.
And Joe, it's sad because the Colts were definitely, I feel like, one of those teams on the bubble.
Yeah,
they're one of those bubble teams.
And then you got the Titans who,
2 years removed from the AFC Championship game.
2 years, but they just got Julio Jones, and their offense seems to be poised to be a top 5 offense in the NFL this year, and they have a decent enough defense, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's the AFC. Then as I said before, the AFC is getting better. You have so many teams on the up and up, right? As I mentioned before, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Browns, the Bengals are on the up and up. The Chargers are on the up and up.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are on the up and up. So there's a lot of these teams who, in a couple of years, are going to be ready to take that next step. And where are the Colts going to be? I have a feeling they may be left out in the cold. I really do.
Sad, too.
So that's our, training camp report, I guess, if you want to call it. We're going to take a small break. And I'm not going to lie to you, folks. We are going to kind of run through the offensive linemen and the safeties because we just can't wait to talk about fantasy football. So go to Starbucks, pause our podcast, get a strawberry acai refresher, and come back.
You really liked it that much, huh?
And join the fun. I loved it. Be right back on PSP.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify. What you want?
All right, folks, we're back here, and we are ready to unveil the top 11 offensive linemen and safeties.
Here we go.
And this will conclude our Legend Series, which was a wonderful idea by my co-host, John McCarthy.
It was.
And we had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And, I think going forward, when we hopefully are doing this podcast next off season, and we're going to come up with a new project for, the low months of June or May to July.
It was so slow, right?
It was so slow. But now we're getting back into gear. So, John, I'll let you pick. Do you want safeties or offensive linemen first?
You
pick.
Go through the offensive linemen. We're going through these quick, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, so I think the offensive line was actually pretty deep.
Okay.
And I looked at, so just so everybody knows, it was pretty impossible to do an algorithm with offensive linemen because they don't hold any stats.
No pancake
Like,
stats?
they only, there's pancakes and there's like total pressures allowed and like holding penalties. That's like it. So, you know.
Well, in that case, Tristan Wirfs might be the greatest offensive lineman in the
Yeah,
roster.
right. And I think that there's a lot of guys who you may think would be in the conversation that actually fell a little bit short because their career accolades, which I weighed pretty heavily into this, was not as heavy as it was for a lot of other guys. So, John, you got your Pro Football Reference website up?
Yeah, pull up. Who's the first one? Let me pull them up.
Well, I'm going to give you guys who didn't make the list first.
Okay.
So, guys who were considered that did not make the list were Kevin Mawai, the former longtime center and Hall of Famer for the New York Jets.
Okay.
Alan Faneca, the just recently inducted guard into the Hall of Fame for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
Jackie Slater, who was a tackle for the Los Angeles Rams back in the 80s. Jim Otto, who was the center for the 1970s Raiders teams. And the Raiders' offensive line was heavily involved in this discussion as they had multiple great offensive linemen. Now we finally know why their teams were so successful in the 70s because their offensive line was incredible. Dan Deerdorf, who was an offensive lineman for the Arizona Cardinals, was heavily considered. Willie Rofe and Will Shields, who were part of that 90s Chiefs offensive line. Rofe ran left tackle and Will Shields ran the guard position. Both were considered, but ultimately did not have enough accolades and enough team success to get there. Jim Parker, who was a longtime offensive lineman in the really, really older days, was considered. Walter Jones, who was played for the Seattle Seahawks in his long career, was an All-Pro and an All-Star for a long time, but very, very injury prone. So he missed the cut because he didn't play enough games, I think. And then this one surprised me, but when you look back at his accolades, they weren't that many. He was great, very great, but I think everybody on the list ahead of him was a lot better. And that's Orlando Pace.
He didn't make the list?
Orlando Pace just missed the cut.
Whoa.
Orlando Pace just missed the cut. Longtime tackle for the Rams. Excellent tackle. Was like a friggin' truck. Couldn't move him. But
really great FanDuel commercial with him.
But when I give you the 11, I think you'll be surprised. And starting off at number 11, and I promise you this was not a homer pick. I genuinely think he was one of the best offensive linemen in the history of the game. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He will be in the Hall of Fame, whether it's next year or the year after. Had a short career, Barry Sanders-esque type career. But when he played, there was no doubt, and I mean no doubt, he was the best offensive lineman in the game of football. And at number 11 is Jacksonville Jaguars' first overall pick, and the only Jaguar to be in any of these top 11 conversations. That's Tony Baselli.
Whoa.
Tony Baselli was the first overall pick in the 1995 Jaguar expansion draft, and every year he played, he was an all-pro. He was an all-star, I believe, and an all-pro. And the Jaguars had their best success while Tony Baselli was protecting Mark Brunell and protecting Fred Taylor and blocking so he could get the ball to Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell. The Jaguars went to the playoffs in 96, 97, 98, 99, and 2000 while Baselli was there. And I think he was a guy who, he's been a finalist for the NFL Hall of Fame for about 3 or 4 years now, and he's just missed the cut. But I think that Baselli, I'm going to recognize Tony Baselli here because Baselli deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And
7-year career, wow.
7-year career. It was cut short due to injury, but John, I don't know if you've ever seen tape on Tony Baselli. You probably haven't.
No, probably not.
But I'm telling you, and we talked about this when we talked about Bruce Smith. Mm-hmm. And I brought up this story about the Jaguars playoff game against Bruce Smith, against the Bills. And I remember this, watching tape on this. Their primary thing was, how do we stop Bruce Smith? And Tony Baselli put on the best performance ever against what we provided as the best defensive lineman in the history of the game. Mm-hmm. And Tony Baselli completely shut him down. I'm talking no pressures, no sacks, no tackles. Completely shut him down. There was no doubt in those 7 years he was the best offensive lineman during his era. So that reason alone is why I have him as number 11. Number 10, one of the Raiders' offensive linemen, Art Shell. You've heard of Art Shell
That
before.
sounds familiar.
Art Shell coming in at number 10 was the tackle for the Oakland Raiders. And as John, are you pulling up the Pro Football Reference there?
I am. Was he a coach too?
He was a coach for the Oakland Raiders. He was a coach for a while.
So Art Shell, just to go over his accolades really quick, he's a Hall of Famer, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and a member of the 1970s Hall of Fame team. He played a lot of games.
Yeah, Art Shell was phenomenal, and he was part of that really, really good Raiders teams of the 70s that didn't have a losing record in what seemed like 20 years. So Art Shell coming in at number 10.
Was he not a good coach? I'm kind of curious.
He was an okay coach. It wasn't great, but
yeah, he had 2 winning seasons.
Coming in at number 9, and this man was part of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys teams in the early 2000s. That's Larry Allen, the guard from the Dallas Cowboys. Larry Allen, a Hall of Famer, an 11-time Pro Bowler and a 6-time All-Pro. Won 1 Super Bowl in 1995 and was part of 2 All-Decade teams, the 1990s and the 2000s All-Decade team.
An All-Pro 6 years straight.
Yeah, he was. I'm telling you, he was unbelievable during his run. Drafted in the second round of the 1994 NFL Draft, and he was a instant starter. John, he played. He only missed really 1 season, and that was in 2002, where he played 5 games. And outside of that, he had 203 career games, and he started 197. He played 12 years in Dallas and 2 years in San Francisco, and
never played in the playoffs.
Oh, outside,
no, yeah, he did.
He did. Outside of 95, he played in the playoffs.
Okay.
All right, so we got that. Number 8, we have another one of those Raiders greats, and that's Gene Upshaw. Gene Upshaw, a lot of people may know, was a long-time president of the NFL Players Association. And Gene Upshaw was another member. He played right next to Art Shell during those 70s Raiders teams. So we also mentioned Jim Otto before. So think about the finalist of the offensive line conversation. 3 of that Raiders, those members of the Raiders offensive line. We're getting into Pittsburgh Steelers territory here when we talk about the Raiders offensive line. But Gene Upshaw was just as good, if not better, than Art Shell. John, you have his. I
do. So there? I have Gene Upshaw. So he was a Hall of Famer, a 7-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a 2-time Super Bowl champ, a 1-time AFL champ, and part of the 1970s Hall of Fame team.
So, his
brother was Marvin Upshaw, in case anybody was wondering.
There you go. So now,
not as successful as Gene.
Going up to number 7, and we want to wish out a happy birthday to this man, as it's his birthday today.
Oh.
Just found that out on Pro Football
That's
Reference. Cool. And John, you know who this is. Played during our era.
Oh, is it who I think it is?
Who do you think it is?
Joe Thomas?
No.
Oh.
Jonathan Ogden.
Oh.
Jonathan Ogden. First round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in the 1996 NFL Draft. I believe he was their first pick ever, Jonathan Ogden. So Ogden was a Hall of Famer, an 11-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, a 1-time Super Bowl champ, and a member of the All-2000s Hall of Fame team. He played from 1996 to 2007, was an All-Star from his second season on, from 97 to 2007. In 96, he was drafted and played left guard and then was moved to left tackle in 1997. And every year he played left tackle, he
was a Pro Bowler.
What
a beast.
And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Side note about him, Jonathan Ogden has 2 career touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, he does. 2 receptions for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, that's a 1,000. That's electric right there. Doesn't get better than that.
Perfect on-base percentage.
So that's Jonathan Ogden, number 6. Number 6, we have...
Is he at number 6?
Number 7, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Number 7, we have Randall McDaniel, who is a member, John, of your purple and gold Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, wow. See, you know what's crazy? I'm such a new Vikings fan, relatively, so I don't really know a lot of these guys. He also has 1 receiving touchdown. Hall of Famer, 12-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, and part of the 90s Hall of Fame team. He was a Pro Bowler almost every year of his career, too.
Yeah. I mean,
Joe.
Yo, talk to me.
He played 220 games out of 222 in his career.
That's ridiculous.
What a fucking Iron Man. The only time he ever missed a game was his first season in 88. He missed 1. And no, he played in all 16. Okay, he played in all 16 except for 1 year, 1989, where he missed 2 games.
2 games. Randall McDaniel, on every list that I looked at when I was doing my analysis, he was in the top 10 of every single list.
Yeah.
So it almost felt blasphemous to not include him on this list, as Randall McDaniel comes in at number 6. Number 5, did you really think we were not going to get a 1970s Pittsburgh Steeler on this list? If you did, shame on you, as we have Mike Webster coming in at number 5, the longtime Pittsburgh Steelers center, who was drafted in the 5th round of the 1974 NFL Draft, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a 4-time Super Bowl champ, and on 2 all-decade teams, the 1970s and 1980s team. He was the center for the Pittsburgh Steelers from 1974 to 1988. Good Lord, he played for a long time.
Yeah, he did play for a long time.
15 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he finished off his career in the Kansas City Chiefs uniform in 1988, 1989, 1990. As I mentioned, was part of that 4-time Super Bowl champ run for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And was an All-Pro and an Pro Bowler from 1978 to 1985 straight, and then again in 1987. Mike Webster coming in at number 5. Number 4, we're getting into the name that you know, John, I believe. Bruce Matthews coming in at number 4. Longtime guard center of the Tennessee Titans. And I believe, is he in the Hall of Fame?
He is. He's a Hall of Famer,
Right.
a 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, and part of the 1990s Hall of Fame team.
Yeah.
He's another guy, the Iron Man, basically. He played 293 games out of 296.
I mean, he was a guy who, I think when we talk about the 1990s and offensive linemen, I obviously talked about Tony Baselli before, but Bruce Matthews had a much longer career, and he mastered really 2 positions over the course of his career, which I think means a lot and accounts for a lot more than playing for 7 years and playing 1 position. Bruce Matthews really, really solidified that Titans line during that era, and very, very warranted here at number 4. Number 3, going back a little bit of a ways, and we're going to go to Forrest Gregg, who was part of the 1950s and 60s Green Bay Packers teams. So
I thought you were going to say Forrest Gump.
that would have been amazing, but he would have been something we didn't know about him. Forrest Gregg, drafted in the 2nd round of the 1956 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1977, also coached for 11 years after he retired, is a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 7-time All-Pro, and he's a 3-time Super Bowl champ and a 5-time NFL champ. So the man won 8 titles during his career.
Incredible.
And get this, he was part of the 1960s, all 1960s team, and he won the 1976 Coach of the Year award.
Quite a few accolades for this fella.
Quite a few accolades for Forrest Gregg. Was a right tackle for the Green Bay Packers for a long time. Missed 1957 season due to being in the military.
Interesting.
So he played for a year, went to the military, came back, and subsequently just, ran shit for like 12 years. So, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. Forrest Gregg won 2 Super Bowls in Green Bay, and then in his last year as a career backup, won another Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys in 1971. So, Forrest Gregg coming in at number 3. Number 2, who many people believe is, not many people, most people believe is the best guard ever to play in the NFL, and that is John Hanna, who played in the NFL for the New England Patriots for a while. I believe he played in the 80s for them.
Yeah.
And John, if you want to throw up some John Hanna stats, that would be
Hall of Famer, 9-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, and part of the 1970s and 1980s Hall of Fame teams.
1970s and 1980s Hall of Fame teams. Was he on the 1985 Patriots team that went to the Super Bowl and got blitzed by the Bears?
So that was his last season in 94. No, 1985.
That was his last year.
Last year, he was a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro, and his last year, at 34 years old, he played in 183 out of 183 games.
Oh, did he start all those games?
Yeah, everything.
Wow. Talk about consistency, and talk about a guy who, when I was looking at him, I was looking up stuff for like numbers 3, 2s, and 1s to see what they were all about. And from everything I read about John Hanna, he was literally like he was a brick wall. Nobody got past John Hanna. So John Hanna, widely regarded as the number 1 guard ever to play in the NFL. If you were starting an offensive line and you needed the best 5 guys, John Hanna was going to be one of those guys. And playing next to John Hanna on that imaginary offensive line of all time is our number 1 offensive lineman of all time. And when you look across every single offensive line list, number 1 was consistent. And that is Anthony Munoz of the Cincinnati Bengals, drafted 3rd overall in the 19 NFL draft, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1998. Anthony Munoz was an 11-time Pro Bowler, a 9-time All-Pro, and a member of the 1980s Hall of Fame team. Caught 7 career passes and scored 4 career touchdowns. Went to the Super Bowl in his tenure with Boomer Esiason. They lost to the San Francisco 49ers as one of their 4 Super Bowl titles. But that was actually probably one of the best. That was probably the best Super Bowl game that the Niners were in, was that early 80s Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals. And Munoz was a Pro Bowler in every year from 81 to 91, so for 11 straight seasons. And was an All-Pro in all those seasons from 81 to 91, with the exception of 84 and 1991. Played in 185 games and started 184 of them over the course of his career.
Beast.
So that's just unbelievable. But there's really wasn't a lot to go into with these offensive linemen, but I think this list really solidifies how dominant some of these guys were. I mean, think about it.
Surprised Joe Thomas didn't make the list.
Joe Thomas did not make the list. Playing for the Browns really hurt him, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of losing.
But think about all the positions that we talked about. Think about all the positions that we really went over.
Mm-hmm.
I could make an argument that this list right here has probably some of the most relatable names we've seen. Like, who everybody is on this list for the most part. Like, not because you don't know them, but you know their names. You've heard their names.
At least heard the names, yeah.
Over the course of football history and football lore. You know who all these guys are. So I think, this is probably the easiest list to make because these guys were so dominant. It was really hard leaving Orlando Pace out of this list. But at the end of the day, you got to draw the line somewhere. And we had to get one Jacksonville Jaguar in there. So that was a must. That was a must. But that's the offensive lineman. And now we are going to shift over. Let's take a quick break.
Quick break, okay.
And then we come back. We'll do the safeties. and we'll do a fantasy football tease, and then we'll get the hell out of here. All right? PSP, come right back. All right, guys, we're back here, and it is time. Cue the in memoriam music as we are about to unveil our last position, the safety position of the NFL Perfect Spiral Legend Series.
Show me the meaning of being lonely.
That was beautiful. Almost made me cry.
Really?
That was great. I love that.
Not as good as you, though.
No, I mean, come on. Nobody's as good as me.
Can we talk about that for a second?
If you want to, go for it.
Wait, we had to do one more thing today.
What?
Oh, fuck. We got to go over the Madden ratings.
Oh, okay. We'll do that at the end. We'll do that at the end.
Okay, wait.
You're very excited about that.
Yeah, so Joe is actually a very good singer, in case anybody didn't know this. He sang at his wedding, and it was incredible. And he, had a whole dance number.
Listen, I'm a jack of all trades, okay? So
You really are. It's kind of weird.
I'm also a karaoke champ. Anybody know that?
How could you be a champion in karaoke?
You win.
But how? Who's keeping tally?
I mean, I enter competitions and I win.
Do you really?
Of course I do.
Dude, what the fuck? Why didn't I know this?
Yeah. When I was on a cruise, I won.
Joe, are you serious?
I'm dead serious. And then when we went on 2 cruises, and then I won another one, and I quick story, and it was me and all my friends. We went on a cruise, and 3 of us tried out in the preliminary rounds, and of course I was the only one to get through to the finals because I went with the old, went with the safe choice. I went Backstreet Boys,
Safe.
everybody. And I completely rocked the crowd. I jumped off the stage, literally jumped off the stage. The guy was like, "You can't do that because you might get." And I did a mic drop.
Wow, this is intense.
So they it was super official too. I got back to my room one night and they left a little card. They're like, "You made it." And I was like, "I'm going to Hollywood," American Idol. And it was funny. I was so the person asked me, they're like, "Listen, do you want to put your 2 friends and your number with you?" And I was like, all right, sure. So I made up a whole choreographed dance to It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC.
Oh, my God.
And here's the best part about this. We get to the finals. It was in front of 500 people. Mm-hmm. And all of my friends there. Hannah's there. First time Hannah's ever really seen me do this type of stuff, which was great. And we were going 4th. Now, remember, it's a karaoke competition. We start listening to these people, and John, they're singers. They're singers. Great voices, holding notes. And me and my 2 buddies look at each other and we're like, what's going on? Not to mention that I woke up that morning and my voice was gone. I was literally sipping Starbucks tea all day long.
This is Jordan flu game-esque.
Literally. And we got up there. We knew we had no shot at winning. We knew there was no shot we were going to win. So we just had a blast. We did the choreographed dance. We had a blast. And sang in front of 500 people. That was probably the largest crowd I've ever sang in front of. We came in 4th out of 6. But,
Sick.
held my own. But yeah, I'm a karaoke machine, bro. I'm a karaoke machine.
I didn't know that. So you want to hear my funny karaoke story?
Sure.
Now that we are karaoke pod. So I guess it was after Chester Bennington died.
Okay.
Linkin Park.
Yes.
So I went out. I don't go out often, right? So for everybody that's listening, I am very much a homebody. Joe is the outgoing, always busy, always got something going on. Me, you could catch me chilling in the room playing Call of Duty. So I went out for the first time, right? I would never. Me and my ex, I was always the one that stayed home. She always went out, and I would. This one night I went out with them to the bar, and I never do. And karaoke was happening. And I'm so introverted with that shit. I can't do it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm singing Crawling. So I sang him, a song, Crawling in my skin. Bugging out, screaming. I'm sweating. I'm like, ah. I'm singing the whole thing. Everybody in the bar got up and clapped for me.
Really?
To this day, it is legendary, but it's not as legendary as you, my friend, because you sang in front of basically Madison Square Garden. So
Yeah, right. Madison Square Garden. Yeah, but no, that's great. I would love to see if that was. Is there video evidence of this?
I could try to find it. I could ask Liz if she
I
has
would
video
love
evidence.
to see that.
I don't think she does though.
Oh, that'd be so great.
All right, go ahead. Let's run through these safeties because
So we have 11 safeties. First one, you know very well.
oh,
He's involved in the NFL today. John Lynch.
great GM.
Great GM. Went Super Bowl already. John Lynch, newest member of the Hall of Fame as he was inducted this year. A 9-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro, and a 1-time Super Bowl champ. Part of the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneer champion team. Part of that vaunted defense with Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp. Both Hall of Famers as well. 3 Hall of Famers on that team. 26 career interceptions for John Lynch. 68 career passes defended. 16 forced fumbles. And over 1,000 career sacks as a safety.
Wow.
So good for John Lynch. Played 11 years in Tampa Bay and finished his career in Denver with the Denver Broncos. Played until he was 36 years old. A 15-year career for John Lynch. Number 10. John, you also know this guy as well.
Who?
Brian Dawkins.
Whoa.
Coming in at number 10.
Brian Dawkins was fantastic.
For the Philadelphia Eagles and also played and ended his career in a Denver Bronco uniform. Brian Dawkins was a Hall of Famer, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, and part of the all 2000s team. Drafted in the second round of the 1996 NFL Draft. Played for the Eagles from 96 to 2008. Went to 1 Super Bowl with them in 2004 and played free safety for the Eagles. 37 career interceptions, 2 career touchdowns, 153 career passes defended. That's incredible. 36 career forced fumbles, 19 career fumble recoveries over the course of his career, 26 career sacks, and over 1,100 career tackles for Brian Dawkins. John, anything to add about Brian Dawkins?
Brian Dawkins was fun to watch in Philly, man. He was a hard-hitting guy.
Really, really hard-hitting guy.
Yeah. Not the hardest-hitting safety in the league.
No, that's Greg
Darren
Jennings.
Sharp. What?
That's Greg Jennings. That's Greg Jennings. Coming in at number 9, we got a guy whose name is Yale, and his name is Yale Larry.
What the fuck?
I swear to God. Yale Larry played for the Detroit Lions during their heyday, bro. Hall of Famer inducted in 1979. 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, a 3-time NFL champion, Yale Larry, and part of the 1950s NFL All-Decade Team. 50 career interceptions for Yale Larry for the Detroit Lions. Did not play. Oh, my God, John. You want to hear some crazy stuff?
What?
He was a punter as well.
Yeah, right? I'm looking at that right now.
Oh my God, that alone. My man played and he kicked and punt returned. Bro, the guy did everything. Yale Larry.
Interesting.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding?
Wow.
Joe's a big fan of Yale Larry now.
This guy kicked, returned kicks, and then for shits and giggles, he just picked off passes for fun. All right. Talk about a triple threat. God damn.
Most impressive kicker ever to play.
Number 8, inducted into the Hall of Fame, I believe, recently, and I'm going to double check this, is Steve Atwater. Steve Atwater played 10 years from 1989. Yes, he was inducted recently. 1989 to 1999, he played as a part of the Denver Broncos teams and on 2 Super Bowl winning teams. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2020. He was drafted in the first round of the 1989 NFL Draft. An 8-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro, and a 2-time NFL champion and part of the 1990s All-Decade Team. Won those 2 Super Bowls in 97 and 98 with John Elway, and then finished his career in the New York Jets uniform in 1999. He went to the A's title game in that year as well.
Why does everyone always seem to finish out their career with the Jets? It's like when you're at the end of your rope, you just go to the Jets.
They want to go to New York. That's the deal. They want to play for the New York. 24 career interceptions. Started 166 career game. I apologize. He started every career game he had with Denver Broncos from 1989 to 1998. So that is impressive there. 1 touchdown over the course of his career. 8 fumble recoveries over the course of his career, and just about 1,200 career tackles over the course of his career. So Steve Atwater coming in at number 8. Number 7 is a guy who is the only guy that we've had on this list, John.
Uh-oh.
And he is a man who was considered on two lists. He was also thrown in on the cornerback list. And he did not make the list because he was not a great corner. But he was a great safety. And that is Emlen Tunnel. And his nickname is the Gremlin.
Oh, I remember him.
And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1967, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, a 2-time NFL champ, and a member of the 1950s All-Decade team. Played for the New York Giants during the heyday of his career. 79 career interceptions for Emlen Tunnel. 4 career touchdowns. Played 11 years for the New York Giants. And that finished his career out in Green Bay.
That is a lot of interceptions.
A lot of 79 interceptions. And think about that. 79 interceptions in the 1950s. That's like 120 or 130 in today's NFL.
Yeah, because
So-
you got to think they're playing less games.
Emlen Tunnel, really the Gremlin coming out being a stud.
You want to hear something funny, Joe, really quick before we move on from Emlen Tunnel?
Sure.
1949, he only started 3 games out of 12. He had 10 interceptions and 2 touchdowns.
Wait. What?
So, in 1949, he also wasn't a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro that year. Because he only started 3 games, but he had 10 picks.
How does that even make sense?
I don't even know. It doesn't make sense.
So he's averaged like 3 picks a game?
I don't know. What were they playing? Backyard football?
That's ridiculous. Oh, God.
That is crazy. And every year after that, he didn't have any less than 6.
That's insane.
Pretty impressive. All right, go ahead. What are we up to, 5?
We're up to number 6.
Oh, number 6. Okay.
And we got a guy coming in, Ken Houston, who played for the Houston Oilers and the Washington Redskins during his career. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1986, a 12-time Pro Bowler, John. My goodness. 12 times. A 2-time All-Pro and a member of the 1970s All-Decade team. 49 career interceptions. A strong safety for the big 9 career NFL touchdowns for Ken Houston. So he found the end zone a lot over the course of his career. Played in 196 career games, started in 183. 21 fumble recoveries over the course of his career. Did not go to the playoffs a whole lot, but he was nonetheless a very, very productive safety. Drafted in the 9th round of the NFL draft in 1967.
Holy shit.
So
9
talk
rounds.
about a diamond in the rough, and that would be Ken Houston. John, we are going to number 5, and I know you know this guy.
Please. Joe, please don't tell me it's who I think it is.
Who is it? You think it is?
Ed Reed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Ed Reed's a little further up on this list.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Another guy you know, though.
Who?
Mine.
I don't know.
He was synonymous with us growing up as kids. He had a famous commercial, and it was because of something about him.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Troy Polamalu.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
Troy Polamalu was such a beast.
With the hair and the Head and Shoulders commercial.
Okay.
Come on.
Growing up, that wasn't that long ago.
Troy Polamalu retired in 2014, and he started his career in 2003 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Troy Polamalu, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2020, was the 16th overall selection of the 2003 NFL Draft. An 8-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 2010 Defensive Player of the Year, and member of the All-2000s team. John, how many times did Troy Polamalu jump the snap and literally tackle the quarterback before he could get the friggin' snap from the center?
Dude, he was such a beast.
He was unbelievable.
Unreal.
He was not a crazy hard hitter, but he just had a knack for
High IQ.
Unbelievably high IQ. Mm-hmm. Had a ridiculous knack for intercepting and coming up huge in big moments.
Very big.
And he had his nose for the football. If we go over his career stats really quick, 32 career interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 14 forced fumbles, 7 career fumble recoveries. He was just an absolute beast. And he made his presence felt in the playoffs. 3 career playoff interceptions. The Steelers winning Super Bowls in 2 of those years, 2005 and 2008, for Troy Polamalu. That first one in 2005 was against the Seattle Seahawks and Jerome Bettis' final ride. Mm-hmm. And then in 2008, they also won the Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger at the helm. Troy Polamalu coming in at number 5. Number 4 is a man who also played on the Green Bay Packer teams, and that would be Willie Wood, who played for the Green Bay Packers from 1960 to 1971. He played at free safety, a member into the Hall of Fame in 1989, an 8-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, a 2-time Super Bowl champ, and a 5-time NFL champion, and member of the 1960s Hall of Fame team. 48 career interceptions and a league-leading 9 in 1962. He also had 16 fumble recoveries over the course of his career, and obviously won 5 titles in 1961, 1962, 1965, 1966, and 1967, and then won 2 other NFL championships in the early 1960s. Willie Wood coming in at number 4. John, anything to add about Mr. Willie Wood?
Nothing to add, Joe.
Nothing to add. John is ready for fantasy football. You can just tell. He's ready.
How did you know I was literally thinking about that?
I know you are. Well, John, I'm going to give you the reins on number 3 here because, it's your boy.
Is it Ed Reed?
It is Ed Reed coming in at number 3.
God, I love Ed Reed.
Ed Reed. I'll give you the stats, and John, you can talk about Ed
Bill
Reed.
Belichick's favorite player.
Is that right?
Well, yeah, because he said that. Go ahead, give the stats, and I'll talk about it.
Well, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019, a member of the Miami, Florida Hurricanes.
That crazy team.
Crazy defense. Inducted to the Hall of Fame 2019. 9-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champ, and a member of the All-2000s team and the 2004 Defensive Player of the Year. 64 career interceptions, led the league in picks in 3 separate seasons, 2004, 2008, and 2010. Had 7 career touchdowns, 13 career fumble recoveries, and 646 career tackles. But John, this man was
talk about. He might have a higher IQ than Troy Polamalu when it comes to football.
Ed Reed was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Ed Reed, I've never seen the vision on a defensive back that I've seen on Ed Reed.
Just a ball hawk.
He was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, him and Ray Lewis are the 2 best players in Ravens history, bar none.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Suggs is up. Suggs has to be up there.
Yeah, but I think they're both better than Suggs.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Ed Reed was such a... I mean, what you said says it right there, right? He's Bill Belichick's favorite player.
And Belichick knows the exact play that he became the favorite player.
Oh, is that right?
So when they did the, it was like the NFL Top 100, right? Remember when they were bringing in everybody to talk about the 100 greatest players of all time? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ed Reed was on that list. And Ed Reed was in the room when Belichick said this. And he was like, it was a play against the Colts. Peyton Manning... It's like Peyton Manning changed the play at the line of scrimmage. You know how he does what Peyton Manning typically does, right? And the receiver, I think, ran across. Like the receiver ran a slant.
Okay.
And Ed Reed acted like he was baited on the play before. But he knew exactly what was happening. So he came downhill so hard, picked off Peyton Manning, and returned the ball for a touchdown. And then the Patriots tried to run the same play. And he figured it out. The IQ of him is incredible. Not to mention, he's just an all-around great guy.
Yeah, Ed Reed.
And now he's a high school coach, I believe, right? I think he's a high school coach now. Oh, no, he's the DB's coach for Miami.
Is that right?
Yes. Incredible, incredible player. I mean, we had the pleasure of watching his entire career, so, I mean, he was one of our guys.
He was one of our guys, that's for sure. And... after Ed Reed, was only right. John, I'm telling you, bro, your Vikings are all over this list, bro.
Yeah, with 0 Super Bowls.
0 Super Bowls are on this list. Number 2, the career leader in interceptions in the history of football. Number 2, Paul Krause. Paul Krause played from 1964 to 1979, started his career with the Washington Redskins and finished with the Minnesota Vikings. As John mentioned, he was career 0-4 in Super Bowls. But the career leader in interceptions with 81 over the course of his career. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1998, an 8-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, and a 1-time NFL champion, not a Super Bowl champion. Paul Krause, drafted in the 2nd round of the NFL draft, and drafted in the 12th round of the AFL draft. How? How does that happen? How does that happen?
Insane.
I don't believe it. But
Well, because there's less teams, I think, in the end.
so career leader in interceptions, but only led the league in interceptions once, and that was in his rookie season.
Interesting.
He had
fun fact.
12. And over the course of his career, John, he never had a year where he did not have an interception. That's impressive. Every single year, he at least had 2. At least. And he had double-digit interceptions twice, once in 1964, and then a decade later in 1975, he had 10. But
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
How impressive it is to have double-digit interceptions. I mean, just as a DB in general, you just don't see it very often.
no, it's something that, and especially as we keep mentioning, back in the 60s and 70s when guys did not throw the ball a lot,
Yeah.
that's insanity.
And even now, it's even harder because, like, even when they do throw the ball a lot, what was the most last year? I think it was Xavier Howard. He had 9.
Yes, I believe so. But I mean, Paul Krause, I mean, talk about consistency. I mean, from the years 1967 to 1972, it took him about a 6-year span. He never had less than 5 picks in a season.
That's incredible.
That's impressive. Never had less than 5. That means he's getting a pick, and they played 14 games back then. So that means he was getting an interception once every 3 games at minimum.
You think it's harder to pick the ball off as a safety or a corner? As a corner.
A safety.
Yeah, right? It has to be.
100%. You're not always getting the ball thrown your way.
Because you're kind of roaming.
Right. You're playing safety. You're playing the net. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure they get behind you. But that's impressive. And then number 1.
To conclude the entire Legend series.
And this man, I mean, there was no doubt he was going to be number 1. He was the hardest hitting safety ever. And quite possibly the hardest hitting defensive player ever. Ronnie Lott, member of the 1980s Dynasty San Francisco 49ers teams, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2000, a 10-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time All-Pro, a 4-time Super Bowl champion, and a member of both the 1980s and 1990s NFL team. Ronnie Lott was an absolute beast. Started his career as a corner and played the majority of career at his free safety position. Johnny also ended his career with the New York Jets.
So did Ed Reed.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's why I said it. I was like, why is everybody going to the Jets?
That's wild. Led the league in career interceptions twice in 1986 and 1991. 63 career interceptions, 5 career touchdowns, over 1,100 tackles in his career as well. I mean, Ronnie Lott, I mean, there's nothing really to say. Ronnie Lott was just a freak of nature. Mm-hmm. Ed Reed, probably, and think about the top 3 really quick. Ed Reed, probably the highest IQ of any safety ever. Paul Krause, the most interceptions of any safety ever. And then Ronnie Lott was easily the hardest hitting and the winningest safety in the history of the game. Probably the best defensive player on those 80s 49ers teams. And to be the best at anything on a team that won 4 Super Bowls in a decade is something amazing. And Like, it wasn't like he was the best, like, punt returner on those teams. No, he was the best. Not only was he the best safety in the league during that run, he was the best defensive player on those teams in every one of those Super Bowls, most likely. Mm-hmm. So Ronnie Lott was, and you feared him. Opposing offenses feared Ronnie Lott. They did not want to run across the middle because they did not want to get popped by Ronnie Lott, and he made you feel it. This is like
like touch tackle football.
Yeah. So this is like, when they were able to pop them. Mm. So Ronnie Lott, the last player, John, of the Legends series.
It happened. We've gotten to the end.
We did it. How do you feel about it?
I'm a little sad, but you know what? So really quick, let's run through all. Do we remember all the number ones off the top of our head?
Let's see.
Jerry Rice.
Let's go through the. I'm going to do it better if I go through the positions.
Okay.
So number one on the quarterbacks was Tom Brady. Number one on the running backs was Emmitt Smith.
Okay.
Number one on the wide receivers was Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
Number one on the tight ends was Tony Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
Number one on the offensive line was we just did it. Was Anthony Munoz.
Yes.
Number one on the defensive line was Bruce Smith. Number one in the linebackers was Lawrence Taylor. Number one on the corners was Rod Woodson.
Yep.
And number one in the safeties was Ronnie Lott. Number one team was the 1989 San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
And the number one coach was Bill Belichick.
Wow. There we go. That was it.
There we go.
Is it time now, Joe? Are we lifting the veil on what we have coming up?
Well, do you want to talk about your Madden ratings first?
I mean, we don't really have to go through the Madden ratings.
I mean, John.
I was just really excited about it, but now that it's time to lift the veil on FFA, I feel like I just want to do that.
Well, folks, John said it. Fantasy football season is here!
Let's go.
I'm so excited.
Oh, I can't wait.
Folks, this next month's going to be electric. This next month is going to be me and John going at each other's throats probably for about an hour and a half each week. Next week, John, we got to get right into it. We got to start with the quarterbacks.
This is our bread and butter.
We got to start with the quarterbacks next week, right?
We have to. Quarterbacks and running backs?
No, just quarterbacks.
Oh, just quarterbacks.
Here's how I think we do it. I think we do quarterbacks first on their own. Then we do running backs on their own.
Okay.
And then, so we're going to have four weeks in August that we could do episodes. And if we want to leak one episode into the first week of September, we can.
Technically.
Or we could do 2 NFL preview episodes in September. That we could decide. But we're at least going to do 4 fantasy football shows. And what we could do is we could do 1 week of quarterbacks, 1 week of running backs. Then we could do wide receivers and tight ends because they're both pass catchers.
Yes.
And then we could do 1 week dedicated to like sleepers and busts and all that type of stuff.
Of course.
Guys who will win you leagues, guys who won't win you leagues. And then if we don't get to all of that during those 4 weeks, then we could do an extra week. If we get to all that over the course of the 4 weeks, then we could do like a 2-week mega preview of the season where we do like the AFC 1 week and then we do the NFC the following week or vice versa.
Oh, that sounds so sick.
And then we could like really we could do full predictions. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Who's,
These are going to be some really good
Trevor
pods
Lawrence,
coming up.
obviously being the Offensive Rookie of the Year, without question. So Jaguars making Super Bowl, winning it, dethroning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Stop it.
Trevor Lawrence overtakes as the new baby goat.
It took 5 seconds for us to get into the Jaguars. Joe gave me like a quick list of his rankings. Like what did I get? The quarterbacks? You gave me the quarterbacks. You didn't give me the running backs. For your rankings. So I'm doing I'm doing my own full thing.
Absolutely, you should.
I'm doing my own full thing because this is our bread and butter, right?
Right.
I mean, you're going to want to hear all this fantasy football coverage because if you want to win your leagues and you want to win a championship, you're going to want to listen to us. I'm not even kidding. I wish I was fucking around. I wish I was joking with how confident I am that with the advice that we're going to give you, you will win your league. And now what's going to happen?
You'll at least come in second if you get my advice.
Joe's, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Anyway, so I think what we're going to do also, I mean, I'm kind of just throwing this out there. Maybe we'll do like a little, start sits on Sundays real quick. Just a couple start sits.
Ooh.
Just a couple of like, guys you want in your lineup.
Maybe like
guys.
on the TikTok?
Like a quick start sit, like a quick 10-second video of you're gonna want to start this guy, and sit this guy.
Always start Trevor Lawrence. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the end. I promise.
That's not the end because I already saw your quarterback rankings.
He wasn't in my top 10.
He wasn't in your top 10, but what was he, fucking 11?
No.
You had him really up there.
I think I had him at number 13.
There is one rookie though, that I think is going to be the number one player at his position.
Well, let's give a little tease before we get out of here.
Okay.
Give me one quarterback you love, fantasy football, strictly fantasy football, and one quarterback you hate.
Okay. So one quarterback I absolutely love this year is obviously Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Going into the season, what's not to love about this guy? He had an incredible. I mean, depending on how your scoring is in your league, he was putting up 40 to 50 points a week. I mean, in Ronaldo, he was going off. I mean, obviously he's being kept this year, but came on late. Right. A lot of people didn't really realize it, but I mean, man, he's another year with Keenan Allen. Mike Williams is back. Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler.
You love Austin Eckler. Joe will live and die by Austin Eckler.
The little engine that could.
So Justin Herbert's one guy that I love. A guy that I actually hate this year, believe it or not. And you are going to this is going to surprise you.
Okay.
I don't think I hate him per se. I think I'm just not as high on him as I think everybody else is, and that's Joe Burrow.
Wow.
I'm not very high on Joe Burrow. I'll give you the quick synopsis, and we'll get into this more during the quarterback discussion.
During next week, yeah.
Weapons galore. Yes. That's great, but the knee scares me. He came back very fast from this knee surgery.
Well, he's not playing in the preseason. I already said that.
No, but he's already cleared for full contact. Not a lot of time with these guys, although I do like the rapport that he has with I'm forgetting his name.
Higgins or Jamar Chase.
With Jamar Chase and Higgins already.
Right.
But a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Still didn't improve that offensive line. Coming back from a knee injury, I don't love it, and I don't love the situation in the backfield. I don't like Joe Mixon much.
Really?
I don't. I have no faith in Joe Mixon.
You do realize that, and I'm just going to, before we quickly, you realize that the offensive coordinator now, with Giovanni Bernard gone, said that he wants Joe Mixon. I'm very high on Joe Mixon this year.
I know, and you told me that, but
he wants Joe Mixon on every play.
Yeah, but Joe Mixon can't stay healthy to play every play.
Well,
that's my issue. I mean, and
for Joe Burrow to succeed, Joe Mixon has to have a good season. And that's part of the problem, I guess.
This is part of the problem. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I'm not so high on him, because what have we seen from Joe Mixon aside from flashes?
When he plays, though, he's effective.
Averages less than 4 yards a carry.
Okay.
He's
going to give you more in the passing game this year, though.
Oh, of course he is. I mean, is he going to have?
If he's playing every down, he's going to give you more in the passing game.
Oh yeah, he's going to get 60 targets this year. I mean, you're going to see him have about 40 receptions, 30 receptions. I mean, he's going to be effective. But is he effective in the sheer fact that he's getting 30 touches a game, 35 touches a game?
Let's not get into Joe Mixon right now. All right.
Now you got me excited. Now I'm talking about Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon right now. We are going see, and this is just like literally a preview of like what we're going to bring you next week with the quarterbacks. We're going to break down all the possible quarterbacks. You want to hear about who's the better quarterback in New Orleans, Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill? We'll tell you. You want to know if it's worth drafting any rookie quarterbacks? We'll tell you. You want to know if it's worth it for you to redraft Tom Brady in a redraft league? We will tell you. Any questions you have, fantasy football wise, bring them to us, because I promise you we will give you an answer, and it'll be an insightful, and it will be an answer that will want some merit. John, you got a week to prepare, my friend, because I'm gonna come at you fucking hard.
I'm already cooking
hard, bro. Can't wait.
Are we working on that deal for the 4th and 5th round pick for the 2nd round pick?
Listen, I love my 2 seconds very much.
I know
at the moment. So I like my 2 second round picks. It's and I don't have a third. So I currently don't have a third.
I know.
So I can't get rid of those twos.
I made a great trade though. That Chubb trade was great, right?
Yeah, I gave you Chubb. Listen, for everybody listening to Perfect Spiral, thank you very much. For John McCarthy, my name is Joe Miglio. We'll see you next week when FFA kicks off.